Jake Martinez looked out the window of the ship New Horizon and saw nothing but stars. He had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach this place at the edge of space. His hands were shaking a little as he fixed his tie. Today he would meet aliens, for the first time. The captain of the ship, Lisa Wong, walked up to him. She looked worried. "Are you sure you can do this, Jake? The other diplomat got sick right before we left Earth. You only had 2 days to learn about these aliens." Jake smiled at her. "I read all the files, Captain. The Catharians are big, strong, and they love to fight. They think we humans are weak, but maybe that's not such a bad thing." Captain Wong shook her head. "These talks are very important. If we mess this up, there might be a war. The Catharians have been fighting in space for hundreds of years. Their ships are everywhere." "Don't worry," Jake said. "I have a plan." An hour later, Jake stood in the meeting room. The walls were gray metal and the lights were bright white. There was a long table in the middle with chairs on both sides. Dr. Alex Carter, the ship's expert on alien life, sat next to him. 2 human guards stood by the door. The door on the other side opened. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The alien who walked in was the most amazing thing he had ever seen. She was 8 feet tall with skin that looked like black glass. She had 4 arms, each one thick with muscle. Her face was sharp and beautiful in a way that was completely different from humans. When she moved, it was like watching water flow. Every step was perfect. Behind her came another alien, smaller but still huge compared to humans. The translator. Device on the table began to speak in a robotic voice. "I am Zara Thek, warrior speaker for the Catharian Empire. This is Kethvar, my second. You will tell us why we should not destroy your weak ships and take your planets." Dr. Carter started to speak, but Jake stood up first. He looked right at the tall alien and said, "That was gorgeous." Everyone stopped. The translator made some beeping sounds like it was confused. Zara Thek tilted her head, which made Jake think, "Of a curious cat?" "Explain this word," she said. "Gorgeous," Jake smiled. "It means beautiful, amazing to look at. The way you move, the way you look, it's gorgeous." Dr. Carter grabbed Jake's arm. "What are you doing?" he whispered. But Jake kept looking at Zara Thek. She stared back at him with eyes that were completely black. "Beautiful," she repeated. "This word is not in our language files." "Really?" Jake said. "You don't have a word for beautiful?" "We have efficient. We have deadly. We have useful." Her voice was deep and smooth. "What purpose does beautiful serve?" Jake sat down and gestured to the chair across from him. "Please sit. Let me show you." Zara Thek looked at Kethvar. The smaller alien made some clicking sounds. She sat down, but her 4 hands stayed ready to grab weapons. Jake pulled out his small tablet computer. "Dr. Carter, Captain Wong, could you give us some space? I think this conversation needs to be more personal." "Absolutely not," Dr. Carter said. "Protocol says—" "Protocol got us nowhere with their first diplomat," Jake said. "Trust me." Captain Wong looked at the aliens, then at Jake. "5 minutes," she said. "Then we do this the right way." After the humans left, Jake turned on his tablet. The screen showed a picture of Earth from space, blue and white and green floating in the darkness. "This is my home planet," Jake said. "Earth." Zara Thek looked at the screen. "Your military bases are poorly placed. Those white areas provide no cover." Jake laughed. "Those white areas are clouds, and the blue is water. We don't put military bases there because it's beautiful. We like to look at it. You make choices based on looking? Zarathek sounded confused. Sometimes. Jake touched the screen and the picture changed to show mountains with snow on top. We climb these mountains. They're dangerous and serve no purpose except that they're beautiful. Your species climbs into danger for no tactical reason? We climb them because they're there, Jake said. Because when you stand on top, you can see for miles. Because it makes us feel small and amazed at the same time. Zarathek was quiet for a long moment. Show me more. Jake showed her paintings of flowers, photos of sunsets, and videos of people dancing. He played her music, first a soft piano, peace, then a rock song, then some jazz. With each new thing, her confusion seemed to grow. These sounds serve no purpose, she said about the music. They make us feel things, Jake explained. Happy, sad, excited, peaceful. Sometimes we listen to music just to remember how it feels to be alive. Feelings. Zarathek said the word like she was tasting something new. We have anger for battle. We have satisfaction for victory. You have more? Hundreds more, Jake said. Maybe thousands. Joy when we see our friends. Wonder when we see something new. Love when we care about someone more than ourselves. The door opened and Captain Wong came back in with Dr. Carter and the guards. Time's up, Jake. But Zarathek held up one of her hands. Wait, she said. Human Jake Martinez, you will explain. More of these things later. It's not protocol, Dr. Carter started. I am warrior speaker, Zarathek said, standing up. Her voice became hard and commanding. I decide what serves the Empire's interests. Learning about human weakness may be useful. Jake looked at her carefully. He had a feeling she wasn't thinking about weakness at all. Of course, he said. Anytime you want. After the aliens left, Captain Wong turned to Jake. What did you do? In here? Jake looked at the door where Zarathek had gone. I think, he said slowly, I just taught a warrior how to see beauty for the first time in her life. Dr. Carter shook his head. That's not possible. Their entire culture is built around warfare and survival. They don't have art or music or anything like that. Maybe, Jake said. But did you see how she looked at the pictures? She's curious, and curiosity is the first step to understanding. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Zarathek's black eyes and how they had changed when he showed her the music. Tomorrow they would meet again for the real negotiations. But tonight, somewhere on the alien ship, he hoped a warrior was dreaming about mountains and wondering what it meant to climb them just because they were beautiful. 3 days passed since the first meeting. The official talks were not going well. The other Cytherian diplomats wanted to divide up human space like they were cutting a cake. They talked about humans like they were weak children who needed stronger parents to take care of them. But every evening Zarathek came to Jake's quarters alone. She said it was to learn about human weaknesses, but Jake could tell she was really curious about the things he had shown her. Tonight she sat on the floor because human chairs were too small for her. Jake had made the room darker and put on soft music. On his tablet, he was showing her pictures of art from Earth. This one is called Starry Night, Jake said, showing her a painting of swirling blue and yellow skies. A human named Vincent painted it over 400 years ago. Zarathek looked at the picture for a long time. The stars are wrong, she said finally. Stars do not move in circles. No, they don't, Jake agreed. But Vincent painted how the stars made him feel, not how they really looked. He lied about the stars? He told a different kind of truth, an emotional truth. Zarathek touched the screen with one finger. Her hands were huge, but she was very gentle. What emotion did the stars make him feel? Jake thought about it. Lonely, maybe. Like he was small in a big universe, but also amazed by how beautiful everything was. You said he painted this 400 years ago. Is Vincent still alive? No. Humans only live about 80 or 90 years. Then why do you keep his painting? Jake smiled. Because when we look at it, we feel what he felt. In a way, part of him is still alive when we see his art. Zarathek was quiet for a moment. Catherians live for 300 years. When we die, we are remembered only for our battles. Our victories become part of the war songs. But this Vincent is remembered for feelings, for showing us that feelings matter, that our inner worlds are as real and important as the outer world. Inner worlds, she repeated. You mean thoughts and feelings? Yes, the things that happen inside your mind and heart. Zarathek looked around Jake's room. It was small, but he had made it nice. There were plants from Earth growing in pots, pictures of his family on the walls, books on shelves. You carry your inner world with you, she said. Everyone does. Even you. No, Catherians are taught to have empty minds, clear thoughts for battle, no emotions to make us weak. Jake set down his tablet and looked at her seriously. What do you think about when you're alone? For a moment, Zarathek didn't answer. Then she said very quietly, I think about the music you played. I do not understand why the sounds stay in my head. Because you liked it. Because it made you feel something. This is wrong. I should not feel things that do not help in battle. Jake leaned forward. Can I ask you something personal? She nodded. What's your real name? Zarathek looked confused. You are saying my name. Zarathek. No, that sounds like a title or rank. What name did your parents give you when you were born? Catherians do not have parents like humans. We are raised by the warrior schools from birth. Zarathek is my designation. It means sharp blade of the third formation. Jake felt sad hearing this. So you've never had a name that was just yours? Something that meant you as a person, not as a soldier? I do not understand the difference. A name is like a sound that means everything special about you. Not what you do, but who you are inside. Zarathek thought about this. What does Jake mean? It means he who follows. But my parents chose it because they liked how it sounded. They wanted me to have a name that felt warm and friendly. Warm and friendly, she said slowly. Like the music. Exactly like the music. Jake had an idea. What if I gave you a name, just for when we're talking together? Not to replace your designation, but something that's just for you. Zarathek's 4 hands moved nervously. This is not done. Lots of good things are not done until someone does them for the first time. She was quiet for a long moment. What name would you choose? Zara. It's short for Zarathek, but it sounds softer, more like a person and less like a weapon. Zara, she said, and Jake could hear something change in her voice, like she was trying on new clothes. When you say this name, you mean me? I mean the part of you that wonders about music and art, the part that asks questions about feelings, the part that climbs dangerous mountains just to see what's at the top. Zara was quiet for a very long time. Jake started to worry that he had said something wrong. Then she spoke, so softly he almost couldn't hear her. When I am alone on my ship, I think about the pictures you showed me, the mountains with snow, the painted stars. I try to imagine what it would feel like to see them with my own eyes. Is this what you call dreaming? Yes, Jake said. That's exactly what dreaming is. Catherians are not supposed to dream about things that are not real. But the mountains are real. The stars are real. The feelings they give you are real too. Zara looked at her hands. I do not know how to be a person instead of a weapon. You don't have to stop being a warrior. You just have to add being a person too. They can both be true at the same time. The next morning, Jake was called to Captain Wong's office. Commander, Rick Hayes was there too. He was the military advisor and he never looked happy about anything. Jake, we need to talk, Captain Wong said. Commander Hayes has some concerns about your meetings with the Catherian. She's learning about human culture, Jake said. Isn't that good for the peace talks? You're teaching her to be weak, Commander Hayes said. His voice was angry. You're filling her head with nonsense about art and feelings. These are warriors, Jake. The only thing they respect is strength. Have you seen her fight? Jake asked. She could kill everyone on this ship with her bare hands if she wanted to. Learning about beauty doesn't make her less dangerous. It makes her more interesting. It makes her unreliable, Hayes said. Her own people are starting to notice that she's acting strange. What happens when they decide she's been compromised? Captain Wong looked worried. Jake, I want these peace talks to work. But if we're changing their people in ways they don't like, it could cause more problems than it solves. Maybe some changes are worth the problems, Jake said. That evening, Zara came to Jake's quarters as usual, but this time she looked troubled. My second-in-command, Kethvar, has been asking questions, she said. He wants to know why I spend time with humans when I am not required to. What did you tell him? I told him I am studying human weaknesses to better defeat them. She paused. But this was not truth. What is the truth? Zara sat down on the floor and looked at Jake's plants. The truth is that when I am here, I feel like the person you call Zara. When I am on my ship, I must be Zarathek the warrior. But Zarathek feels empty now, like wearing armor that no longer fits. Jake felt his heart break a little. I'm sorry. I never wanted to make you unhappy. I am not unhappy, she said quickly. I am confused. Before, my life was simple. Fight, win, serve the Empire. Now I think about painted stars and wonder what snow feels like on skin. I think about names that mean person instead of weapon. These thoughts make me feel... What is the word? Alive? Yes, alive, but also lost. Jake knelt down next to her. Zara, can I tell you something that might help? She nodded. Growing up is always confusing. Learning new things about yourself is scary. But the confused, scary feeling means you're becoming more than you were before. That's good, even when it's hard. Is this what human children feel when they learn? Yes, and human adults too, when we discover something new about who we are. Zara looked at him with her deep black eyes. Jake Martinez, you have given me a name and dreams and confusion. In my culture, this would make you responsible for me. What does that mean? It means, she said slowly, that my inner world now has you in it, and I do not know what to do with this feeling. Jake felt something warm and scared in his chest. I have the same feeling about you. What do humans call this feeling? Jake thought carefully before answering. I think we call it caring about someone more than yourself. Love? Maybe. Or maybe it's the beginning of love. Zara reached out with one of her hands and very gently touched Jake's face. Her skin was warm and smooth like polished stone. Jake Martinez, she said, you have ruined me for being only a warrior, but I think you have also saved me from being only a weapon. Outside Jake's window, the stars shone like Vincent's painting. Not the way they really were, but the way they felt in a heart that was learning to see beauty everywhere. The alarm woke Jake from a deep sleep. Red lights flashed in his room, and the ship's computer voice said, "All crew to battle stations. This is not a drill." Jake threw on his clothes and ran to the bridge. Captain Wong was already there, looking at the big screen that showed space around them. Dozens of ships were coming toward them fast, but they weren't Cytherian ships. Pirates, Dr. Carter said. He looked scared. The Void Reapers. They must have followed us here. How many, Captain? Wong asked. 43 ships, the weapons officer said. They're using mixed technology, some Cytherian weapons, some human engines. They've been stealing from both our fleets. Jake looked at the screen. The pirate ships looked like they were made from pieces of other ships welded together. They were ugly and dangerous. Where's Zara? He asked. The Cytherian delegation is trapped in Section C, Dr. Carter said. The pirates hit us there first. The passage between sections is blocked. Jake's heart jumped. I have to get to her. Absolutely not, Commander Hayes said. You're not a soldier, Jake. You'll just get in the way. But Jake was already moving. He grabbed an emergency kit from the wall and ran toward Section C. Behind him, he heard Captain Wong giving orders to prepare for battle. The ship shook as the pirates started shooting. Jake fell against the wall but kept running. The lights went out and emergency lighting came on, making everything look red and scary. When he reached Section C, he found the passage blocked by twisted metal and broken pipes. Steam was coming out of the cracks, and he could hear sounds of fighting on the other side. Zara! He called out. Jake? Her voice came through the metal. You should not be here. It is dangerous. Are you hurt? No, but we are trapped. The pirates have blocked both exits. They are trying to force their way in. Jake looked at the twisted metal. There was a small gap near the top, but it would be dangerous to climb through. The metal was sharp and the steam was hot. I'm coming through, he said. No, the passage is not safe. Neither is staying apart, Jake said and started climbing. The metal cut his hands and the steam burned his arms, but Jake squeezed through the gap. On the other side, he found Zara and Kethvar standing back to back in a defensive position. 3 dead pirates lay on the floor. Zara turned when she heard him drop down. You are injured, she said, looking at his bleeding hands. I'm fine. How do we get out of here? We do not, Kethvar said. His voice was grim. More pirates come. We will die here with honor. No, Jake said. There has to be another way. Zara looked at him carefully. There is a service tunnel that leads to the engine room, but it is very small. Only a human could fit through it. Then I'll go get help. The tunnel passes through areas that are now open to space. You would need a suit. We do not have human suits here. Jake thought fast. What about a Cytherian suit? Too big for you. Not if you help me modify it. Zara and Kethvar looked at each other. Kethvar made some clicking sounds that the translator didn't pick up. He says it is a foolish plan, Zara said. Good thing humans are good at foolish plans, Jake said. 15 minutes later, Jake was wearing Pieces of a Catherian spacesuit held together with tape and hope. Zara had worked fast to make it smaller, but it was still too big. He looked like a child wearing his father's clothes. "The tunnel is here," Zara said, showing him an opening in the wall. "Follow it straight for 200 meters. Do not take any side passages. They lead to space." "Got it." Zara grabbed his arm gently. "Jake Martinez, if you die doing this, I will be very angry with you." Jake smiled. "If I die doing this, you can yell at my ghost." He climbed into the tunnel. It was dark and narrow, barely wide enough for his shoulders. The suit made it harder to move, but at least he could breathe. Behind him, he heard the sounds of fighting as more pirates tried to break into Section C. The tunnel seemed to go on forever. Jake crawled through darkness, following the small lights that marked the path. His hands and knees hurt from the metal floor, and the suit was getting heavier. Then he felt cold air on his face. Somewhere ahead, the tunnel was broken. Jake turned on the suit's light and saw what Zara meant. For about 10 meters, the tunnel was open to space. Stars shone through the gap, beautiful and deadly. Jake checked his air supply. The jury-rigged suit had maybe 20 minutes of oxygen. He would have to move fast. He pushed himself out into the open section. Without gravity, he floated, using his hands to pull himself along the tunnel walls. It was scary and amazing at the same time. Space was all around him, silent and huge. A piece of debris from the battle floated past, part of a pirate ship, burning as it tumbled through the void. Jake watched it spin away and thought about how beautiful it looked, even though it meant someone had probably died. He made it through the open section and back into the ship. The engine room was just ahead. Jake could hear voices, human voices, which meant there were still crew members alive. "Don't shoot!" Jake called out as he climbed out of the tunnel. "It's Jake Martinez!" 3 engineers turned toward him, their faces surprised. One of them was Chief Engineer Betty Lynn. "Jake, what are you doing here? And why are you wearing that alien suit?" "Long story," Jake said, pulling off the helmet. "We need to get to Section C. Zara and Kethvar are trapped there." "Section C is cut off," Betty said. "Pirates control most of the ship between here and there. Then we go around them." "How?" Jake thought about what Zara had taught him about Catherian tactics. "We use the maintenance shafts to get behind them. Then we hit them from a direction they don't expect." "You're not a fighter, Jake." "No, but I know how one thinks." 20 minutes later, Jake was crawling through another tunnel, this time with 3 armed engineers behind him. They had a plan: get behind the pirates attacking Section C and create a distraction so Zara and Kethvar could break out. When they reached the right position, Jake could hear the pirates trying to cut through the door. They were speaking in a mix of languages, arguing about the best way to get inside. "Now," Jake whispered. The engineers opened fire. The pirates were completely surprised. Half of them turned to fight the new threat, which gave Zara the opening she needed. The door to Section C exploded outward. Zara came through it like a force of nature. Jake had seen her move before, but never in real combat. She was incredible. Every motion was perfect, like a deadly dance. She moved between the pirates so fast they couldn't track her. Her 4 arms moved independently, each one doing something different, blocking, striking, grabbing weapons. Kethvar was behind her, almost as fast and just as deadly. Together they were like a storm of controlled violence. In 30 seconds, it was over. All the pirates were down. Zara turned to Jake, breathing hard but not even looking tired. "You came back." "For us," Of course I did. She looked at him for a long moment. You risked your life for mine. You would have done the same for me. Yes, she said quietly. I would have. Kethavar said something in Kitherian. Zara answered him, and Jake heard his name in the conversation. What did he say? Jake asked. He said you fight like a Kitherian. He meant it as respect. And what did you say? I said you fight like something better than a Kitherian. You fight like someone who protects the people he loves. The ship shook again as the battle continued outside. Captain Wong's voice came over the communication system. All sections report. Are there any crew members still trapped? Section C is secure, Zara said into her communicator. We are moving to assist in other areas. As they ran through the corridors together, Jake watched. Zara move. She was still the perfect warrior she had always been. But now he could see something else in the way she fought. She wasn't just trying to win, she was trying to protect. She was fighting for something, not just against something. Zara, he said as they stopped to help some injured crew members. Yes? When I watched you fight back there, it was beautiful. She looked at him with surprise. I was killing people, Jake. You were protecting people. There's a difference. You moved. Like you were dancing. Like every motion mattered not just because it was effective, but because it was you doing it. Zara was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I have never thought of fighting as beautiful before, only as necessary. Maybe it can be both. Perhaps, she said. You have changed how I see many things, Jake Martinez, even the things I have always done. The battle was won an hour later. The pirate fleet was destroyed or scattered. But Jake knew that the real battle was just beginning, because when the Kitherian High Command learned that their warrior had changed so much, they would want to know why, and they would not like the answer. 2 days after the pirate attack, everything changed. Jake was in his quarters reading reports about the battle when Captain Wong called him to the bridge. Jake, we have a problem, she said when he arrived. A big one. On the main screen was a Kitherian warship twice the size of the New Horizon. It was black as space itself, with weapons that looked like they could crack planets. That's the Death's Edge, Dr. Carter said. His face was pale. It's the flagship of War Prime Thek Moran, the highest military commander in this sector. What does he want? Jake asked. He wants Zara, Captain Wong said. He's ordered her to return to the Kitherian fleet immediately for what he calls attitude adjustment. Jake felt his blood turn cold. What does that mean? Dr. Carter looked uncomfortable. From what we know about Kitherian culture, it probably means they're going to wipe her memory and rebuild her personality. Make her back into the perfect soldier she was before? They can do that? Kitherians have technology for controlling the mind. They use it to make sure their warriors stay loyal and focused. Jake stared at the screen. We can't let that happen. Jake, Captain Wong said gently, she's not human. She's not even from our species. We don't have the right to interfere with their internal affairs. She has a name now, Jake said. She dreams about mountains and listens to music. She's become a person, not just a weapon. We can't let them take that away from her. Commander Hayes stepped forward. The peace talks are more important than one alien's personal feelings, Jake. If we protect her, it could mean war with the entire Kitherian Empire. Then maybe war is better than letting them destroy someone's soul. Captain Wong looked shocked. Jake, listen to yourself. You're talking about starting a conflict that could kill millions of people. Before Jake could answer, The communication system beeped. "Human vessel," came a deep, harsh voice. "I am War Prime Thekmoran. Send me the warrior designated Zarathek immediately, or face the consequences." "We need time to consider," Captain Wong replied. "You have 1 hour." The screen went dark. Jake ran to Section C, where Zara was staying. He found her standing by the window, looking out at the Catherian warship. She looked calm, but Jake could see tension in her shoulders. "You heard," she said without turning around. "Yes, we're not going to let them take you." Zara turned to face him. "Jake, you do not understand what you are saying. If I do not return, Thekmoran will consider it an act of war. Your people will suffer because of me. Our people. We're in this together now." "No," Zara said firmly. "I am Catherian. I have duties to my empire, even if I no longer understand them the way I used to." Jake stepped closer to her. "What about your duties to yourself? To the person you've become?" "The person I have become is not supposed to exist," Zara said sadly. "Catherians are not meant to have individual desires or personal attachments. We serve the collective good. But you do have desires now. You do have attachments. You can't just turn that off." Zara was quiet for a long moment. "When I was young, I was taught that the greatest honor was to die in battle for the Empire. Now I think the greatest honor might be to live for something beautiful. But I do not know if I have the courage to choose my own path over the path chosen for me." Jake took her hands in his. They were warm and strong, but he could feel them, shaking slightly. "Zara, what do you want? Not what you're supposed to want, not what's expected of you. What does your heart tell you?" "My heart tells me to stay with you," she said quietly. "To learn more about beauty and dreams and all the things that make life worth living. But my mind tells me that wanting these things makes me selfish. It makes you human," Jake said. "Well, not literally human, but it makes you like us in the ways that matter. And if I choose to be like you, what happens to the peace talks? What happens to both our peoples?" Jake thought about this. It was the hardest question he had ever faced. "I don't know," he said honestly. "But I know that forcing someone to give up who they've become is wrong, no matter what the consequences. Even if the consequences are war?" Even then, Zara pulled her hands away from his. "You would choose one person's happiness over the safety of millions? I would choose the principle that every person has the right to decide who they want to be. Without that principle, what are we really fighting for?" That evening, Captain Wong called a meeting with all the senior officers. Jake wasn't supposed to be there, but she let him come anyway. "We have 3 options," she said. "First, we hand Zara over to the Catherians and continue the peace talks." "That's not an option," Jake said. "Second," she continued, "we refuse to give her up and probably start a war." "Also not great," Dr. Carter said. "Third, we ask Zara to make the choice herself, and we support whatever she decides." Commander Hayes shook his head. "If she chooses to stay, it's the same as option 2. War." "Maybe," Captain Wong said. "Or maybe there's a 4th option we haven't thought of yet." "Like what?" Jake asked. "I don't know, but I've learned that sometimes the impossible becomes possible when people are willing to stand up for what's right." Jake found Zara in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. She had been there for hours, thinking. "Have you decided?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "I will return to the Catherian ship." Jake felt his heart break. "Zara, no. It is the only way to prevent war. But they'll change you. They'll take away everything you've become. Zara turned to him, and Jake saw tears in her black eyes. He didn't know Cytherians could cry. "Then you must remember me as I am now," she said. "Remember that for a few weeks, a warrior learned to dream. Remember that someone named Zara existed, even if she will not exist tomorrow. I won't let you do this. It is not your choice to make, Jake Martinez. Then I'm making a choice of my own," Jake said. He walked to the communication panel and opened a channel to the entire fleet, both human and Cytherian ships. "This is Jake Martinez, diplomatic attaché of the Human Colonial Alliance," he said. "I am formally requesting political asylum for the Cytherian citizen known as Zara. She has committed no crime except learning to think for herself. If the Cytherian Empire believes that personal growth and individual choice are threats to their society, then maybe their society needs to change." Zara stared at him in shock. "Jake, what have you done? I've made sure that everyone knows what this is really about. Not military security or diplomatic protocol. It's about whether a person has the right to choose who they want to be." The communication system erupted with angry voices from the Cytherian ships. But Jake also heard other voices. Younger Cytherians who were asking questions, wondering why their leaders were so afraid of one warrior who had learned to appreciate beauty. "You have doomed us both," Zara said. "Maybe," Jake said. "Or maybe I've given both our peoples something to think about. War Prime." Thekmoran's voice boomed over the communication system. "Human vessel, you have interfered with internal Cytherian affairs. Prepare for boarding." But then another voice spoke up, a younger Cytherian from a different ship. "War Prime, I request clarification. What crime has Zara Thek committed? She has been corrupted by human influence. But what specific crime?" There was a long pause. "She has developed unauthorized emotional responses." Is feeling emotion now a crime punishable by mind wipe? More voices joined in from different Cytherian ships. Jake realized that other young warriors had been listening to the conversations between him and Zara. They had been thinking about the ideas she had shared with them. "Return to your duties," Thekmoran commanded. "We request to hear from Zarathek herself," another young voice said. "Let her speak for herself about these human ideas." Zara looked at Jake, then at the communication panel. Slowly, she reached out and activated it. "This is Zarathek," she said. "But I also answer to the name Zara, which means me as a person, not just as a soldier." "Speak, sister," came a voice from one of the ships. "Tell us what you have learned." Zara took a deep breath. "I have learned that there are reasons to fight beyond duty and conquest. I have learned that beauty exists, and that seeing beauty makes life worth living. I have learned that choosing your own path takes more courage than following orders." "These are human weaknesses," Thekmoran said. "No," Zara replied. "These are the reasons humans are strong enough to fight us as equals. They do not fight because they are told to. They fight for things they choose to protect." The communication channel fell silent. Jake held his breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Finally, a young Cytherian voice spoke. "War Prime, I formally request permission to transfer to the human vessel to learn more about these concepts." Denied. "Then I formally request the right to make my own choice, as Zara has done." Also denied. but more voices joined in. I also request this right. And I. And I. Jake looked at Zara and saw something amazing in her eyes. Not fear, but hope. You have started a revolution, she said quietly. No, Jake said. You did. I just gave it a voice. War Prime Thecamaran was not used to having his orders questioned. For 300 years, he had commanded absolute obedience from every warrior under his command. But now, dozens of young Kitherians were openly challenging his authority. All ships, prepare for assault on the human vessel, he commanded. We will retrieve the corrupted warrior and punish those who have interfered with our affairs. But when he gave the order to fire, something unexpected happened. 3 of his own ships did not respond. Sub-Commander Rathik, why are your weapons not charging? He demanded. Because I refuse to fire on beings who are only trying to learn and grow, came the reply. War Prime, with respect, I believe we are making a mistake. You dare refuse a direct order? I dare to think for myself, as Zarathek has taught us. As the humans have shown us is possible. Jake watched from the bridge of the New Horizon as the Kitherian fleet began to split apart. Some ships moved toward them with weapons ready. Others held back, uncertain. A few actually moved to protect the human vessel. This is insane, Commander, Hayes said. We're going to cause a civil war. No, Jake said, watching Zara stand tall beside him. We're going to cause a revolution, and maybe that's exactly what both our species need. Captain Wong was getting reports from all over the fleet. Jake, we have 5 Kitherian ships requesting permission to dock with us. They want to, and I quote, learn about the human concepts of beauty and individual choice. Let them come, Zara said. It is time for my people to see what I have seen. The battle, when it came, was unlike anything anyone had expected. War Prime Thekmoran's loyalist ships attacked, but they were fighting not just humans, but other Kitherians. Brothers and sisters who had served together for decades found themselves on opposite sides. But the fighting was different, too. The rebel Kitherians weren't trying to destroy their former comrades. They were trying to disable their ships without killing anyone. They had learned something from human tactics. Sometimes the goal is not to win, but to protect. Jake found himself in the most unlikely place possible, standing in the command center of a Kitherian warship, helping coordinate the defense. Sub-Commander Rathik had requested his presence specifically. Human Jake, Rathik said. Zarathek has told us much about you. We wish to understand how you convinced a perfect warrior to question everything she had been taught. I didn't convince her of anything, Jake said. I just showed her that she had choices she didn't know existed. Show us these choices. So in the middle of a space battle, Jake found himself doing the strangest thing he had ever done. Teaching alien warriors about human poetry while their ships fought around them. He read them a poem by Robert Frost about choosing between 2 paths in a forest. He showed them pictures of Earth's sunsets. He played them a song about dreams and hope. This is why you fight? Rathik asked. For poems and pictures? We fight so that beings like us can have the choice. To write poems and take pictures, Jake explained. We fight so that everyone can decide for themselves what makes life worth living. And if someone chooses differently than you, then we protect their right to choose differently. Rathik was quiet for a moment. This is a strange kind of strength. To be powerful enough to force others to think like you, but to choose not to. It's the strongest kind of strength, Jake said. Because it means you're not afraid of different ideas. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it was over, War Prime Thekmoran's fleet had been defeated, not destroyed, but convinced to stop fighting. Even some of his most loyal warriors had begun to question whether using force to prevent thinking was really the right path. In the end, the Catherian Empire split into three groups. The traditionalists, led by what was left of Thekmoran's forces, retreated to their core worlds. They wanted nothing to do with human ideas or individual choice. The rebels, led by Sub-Commander Rathik, established a new colony on the edge of space. They called it New Kith, and they invited both humans and progressive Catherians to join them in exploring what their society could become. And in the middle were the majority of Catherians, not ready to abandon their traditional ways, but longer certain that those ways were the only possible path. Zara chose to stay with the human fleet, becoming the first official Catherian human cultural exchange officer. But more than that, she became a symbol of what was possible when beings from different worlds chose to see each other as people rather than as enemies or allies. 6 months later, Jake and Zara stood on the observation deck of their new ship, the Explorer. They were traveling to New Kith, where Jake would help establish the first joint human Catherian research station. "Do you ever regret it?" Jake asked. "Giving up your old life to become something new?" Zara considered this. "I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I had never met you. If I had remained Zara Thek the warrior and never become Zara the person. And then I think about yesterday, when we saw that nebula through the telescope, the way the colors swirled together like a painting made of stars. The old me would have seen only a navigation hazard or a place to hide ships. But I saw beauty. I saw wonder. I saw something worth protecting, not because it was useful, but because it was magnificent." Jake smiled. "So, no regrets?" "No regrets," Zara said firmly, "though I am still learning to understand all these new feelings. Yesterday I felt something I had never experienced before when I saw the nebula." "What did you feel?" "Grateful," she said. "Grateful to be alive in a universe where such beauty exists. Grateful to have eyes that can see it and a mind that can appreciate it. Grateful to have someone to share it with." Jake reached out and took one of her hands. Over the months, they had both grown comfortable with small gestures of affection. "That's what humans call love," he said. "Not just the feeling between two people, but the feeling for life itself. For existence. For the chance to experience wonder." "Then I love many things now," Zara said. "I love the music you play in the mornings. I love the way children laugh, both human and Catherian children. I love the taste of chocolate, even though it serves no nutritional purpose for my species. I love the feeling of accomplishment when we solve a difficult problem together. And I love watching you discover all these things," Jake said. "Every time you experience something new, it's like seeing the universe through fresh eyes." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Their ship was carrying scientists and artists from both species to New Kith, where they would work together to build something that had never existed before, a society based on choice rather than tradition, on cooperation rather than conquest. "Jake," Zara said after a while. "Yes?" "Thank you for calling me gorgeous that first day." Jake laughed. "You're welcome, though I have to ask, do you understand now why I said it?" Zara turned to look at him, her black eyes reflecting the starlight. "I understand that you saw something in me that I did not know existed. You saw potential for beauty, for growth, for becoming more than I was. You saw a person trapped inside a weapon, and you gave that person a chance to emerge. And now? Now, I see the same thing in others. In young Catherians who are tired of being told what to think. In humans who are learning to appreciate alien art. In the children being born on new kith who will grow up never knowing that different species were supposed to be enemies. Jake nodded. Beauty isn't just about what we see. It's about what we choose to create. Yes, Zara agreed. And we are creating something beautiful together. Not just you and I, but all of us. Humans and Catherians and whoever else wants to join us in building a future where being different is seen as a gift rather than a threat. A soft chime indicated that they were approaching new kith. Through the window, they could see the new colony, a mix of human and Catherian architecture, creating buildings unlike anything either species had made before. Ready for another adventure? Jake asked. Zara squeezed his hand gently. With you? Always. As their ship descended toward the surface of New Kith, Jake thought about how strange and wonderful his life had become. A year ago, he had been a minor diplomat sent to translate between species. Now he was helping to build a new kind of civilization. But the most amazing thing wasn't the political changes or the new technology they were developing. It was the simple fact that a human and a Catherian could stand together, hand in hand, watching their dreams become reality. Jake? Zara said as they prepared to land. Yes? I have been thinking about something you said months ago, about how humans write songs and stories about the moon, even though it has no tactical value. I remember. I think I understand now why you do that. You write about the moon because it reminds you that beauty exists, because it connects you to everyone else who has ever looked up and felt wonder, because it proves that the universe is bigger and more magnificent than any one person or species could ever fully understand. Jake felt tears in his eyes. That's exactly right. Then I have a gift for you, Zara said. She pulled out a small device and activated it. Music began to play, but it wasn't human music. It was something entirely new, created by blending human melodies with Catherian harmonies. I wrote this, she said. A song about the first time I saw Earth from space, about how it looked like a blue jewel floating in darkness, about how seeing it made me understand that